In this video, I'm going to turn this glass jar into a tiny Jungle Valley ecosystem. For this build, I'm using the cylindrical glass container with a transparent lid. It has around 1 liter capacity, about 15 centimeters in height and 10 centimeters in diameter. Personally, I really prefer containers like this for terrariums. And one thing, we are creating a closed terrarium and make sure the container has a gasket to trap moisture. I am starting with gravel as the drainage layer. The drainage layer basically acts like a water storage area, holds excess water below the substrate. This prevents soil from becoming flooded or waterlogged, which eventually leads to root rot. And I am just spreading out it evenly with my hands. Next I am adding a polyester mesh layer. This works as a barrier between drainage layer and the substrate, helping keep everything separated over time. Now I am adding a thin layer of charcoal. Charcoal helps keep the terrarium fresh for long by absorbing impurity and reducing unwanted odors inside the cellar. It also helps to create a healthier environment for the plants. Next comes my own terrarium substrate mix that I use for most of my builds. I am adding enough substrate to create a nice slope towards the back. Using my brush, I am shaping the soil little more to improve the depth of the scape. Even in small terrariums, slopes make a huge difference visually. For the hardscape, I am using the dragon stones. I really like the texture and natural earthen look of these stones have. For this build, I am going with a classic V-shape layout. I am placing one larger stone on the left and a smaller stone on the right to create a V-shape. This style is widely used in terrarium building and aquascaping because it naturally guides your eyes towards the central focal point. I am adding a bit more substrate to keep the rocks firmly in place. At the foreground, I am adding a thin layer of coco peat powder. This helps the moss anchor its rhizoids more quickly on the surface. Now it's time to lightly mist the substrate. A good terrarium should stay moist but never soggy. Too much water can cause problems over time, so balance is really important. And finally, I am wiping the glass clean before planting. The terrarium is now ready for plants. I am starting with sheet moss in the foreground. Sheet moss instantly gives the scape the aged rainforest look. It makes the entire build feel more natural and established. While planting moss, I am pressing it gently onto the surface instead of pushing it too deep into the substrate. Moss doesn't have normal roots like most plants. Instead, it uses tiny structures called rhizoids to slowly attach itself onto the surface. For better growth, the moss needs good humidity and constant moisture. That's one of the reasons moss work really well in closed setups. In nature, moss also helps retain moisture and create microhabitats for tiny organisms. So even in this miniature ecosystem, it plays an important role. I am planting moss in small patches instead of one solid layer. That uneven growth pattern usually looks more realistic inside terrariums. To me, a terrarium without moss is like food without salt. Next, I am adding this cotton candy miniature fern in the left background behind the stone. Now I am planting Selaginella uncinata in the right background. Next is Staragon trapans. I am adding this plant in the left background and the midground. It has a very fresh, vibrant green color that helps terrarium look like a jungle. And I am misting the terrarium again to keep the plants hydrated while planting. Wiping the glass again. Now I am adding Selaginella plana. This plant grows in really soft layered way. Next is Hemigraphis rapanda, also known as dragon tongue. The darker textured leaves add contrast and make the scape feel a bit more wild. And now for one of my favorite plants in this build, the white Fittonia. I chose the white variety because it contrasts really nice against the pale orange brown tones of the dragonstones. I am also adding a small cutting of Selaginella plana on the rock for extra detailing. Tiny details like these make the scape feel more natural over time. And finally, a small cutting of Calesia repens on the right side. I feel this area looked a little empty, so this helps soften the scape. To finish the build, I am adding some dragonstone pieces in the foreground. The terrarium a light mist to make sure everything is evenly moist and settled. I am adding springtails to prevent mold issues. Now I am wiping away any excess water from the glass. And with that, this tiny jungle valley ecosystem is now complete. Now all that's left is to seal it up and let the nature do the rest. If you enjoyed watching this video, consider subscribing to Tiny Tropics. And if you know someone who's planning to build a terrarium, share this video with them. It might just inspire their next build. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.